Welcome to Dawn of a Story. This is more than a podcast. It's a place where we speak the truth, tell the stories that shape us, and honor the moments that made us who we are. I created the space because I believe storytelling is how we connect, how we heal, and how we remember who we are. Some stories are still being written, some are full of laughter, some have changed everything, but all of them matter. Whether it's my story or one of my guests, my hope is that you hear something that resonates, that reminds you that you are not alone and encourages you to tell your story too. So settle in because every story starts somewhere, and this one starts now. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to Dawn of a Story. I'm your host, Dawn Pascal. I'm so very grateful you decided to spend your time with me and my guest this week, Joe Mindak. Every show, we will be exploring a new theme, and this week's theme is creating your own opportunities. Some people wait for the right opportunity to come along. Others learn how to create their own. Today's conversation is about curiosity, creativity, and the courage to try something new, even when the path isn't perfectly clear. My guest has spent decades building businesses across different industries, following ideas, testing possibilities, and learning through experience. This episode explores what it means to stay open to opportunity, to embrace experimentation, and to teach the next generation that sometimes the best path forward is the one you create yourself. So let me tell you a little about my guest. Joe is a serial entrepreneur with more than 25 years of experience launching and growing businesses across multiple industries. He began his career by founding a marketing company that he built into a multi-million dollar enterprise before successfully exiting. Since then, Joe has continued to follow his curiosity, creating ventures in publishing, craft beer, wedding technology, and live events. Today, he leads the collective. I'm sorry. Today, he leads the Connective, a fast growing referral network, and helps drive sales and marketing for Nolodex, a platform designed to strengthen how businesses build relationships. Joe is passionate about innovation, opportunity, and inspiring others, especially the next generation. So without further ado, let's get started. Good morning, Joe. How are you?
Morning, Dawn. Good. It sounds good. And don't worry about the collective part. Everyone calls it the collective. Actually, it originally was called the collective. And I met with an old friend of mine who was a copywriter. I was telling him how I was connecting people. And he called me the next day. He's like, why don't you call it the connective? And I was like, that
Okay.
makes more
Well,
sense.
there
He's
you
like, you're
go. That
connecting
makes sense,
people. I'm like, so,
right?
yeah.
No,
So, yeah.
thank you for that, and I'm super happy you're here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you. We've known each other for a long time and
We
always had
have.
great conversations. So excited
Yeah.
to chat. Yeah.
You've started several businesses across several different industries. When did you first realize that creating something of your own was part of who you are?
Yeah, I just kind of, fell into it really, and it goes back to my father. So I came back from college. I went to University of Dayton in Ohio, and I came back to Jersey and looking for a job. I was interviewing all summer in New York City, trying to find a sales role that I wanted to do, and nobody would hire me because I didn't have any experience to
Right.
and I'm like, I just graduated college. Like, how do I get experience? So my mom was like, your dad really wants you to work for him. And my dad had a printing company for, I don't know, 20 years. He started in his basement, right? He had one printing press. And, I was like, you know what? I'm living at home. I don't really need anything. I don't really need to make money. I'm living at home. Why don't I go to work for you for a year for my dad and I'll get my year sales experience, right? So, and my dad's business was kind of declining because Kinko's came out, computers came out. So like, he was trying to kind of see where he was going to go. So I'm like, look, I could help you get some business. I could get something on my resume. And at the end of the year, we did that. And I was like, you know what? Why am I going to go work for Dawn or whoever and make 10% of what I sell when just sell
Right.
for ourselves? Like, and so it was me and my dad. And I said to my dad, why don't we take out a loan and buy some bigger equipment? Like I couldn't sell business cards and let like $120 sales things.
Right.
We need to sell stuff that was bigger, higher ticket items to really make some money. So I convinced my dad to take out a loan for like 50 grand. And we bought a bunch of equipment we didn't know how to use, and rented a place in Hackensack, warehouse. And all of a sudden we had this big print shop, and we brought people in that knew how to use the equipment.
Right.
And then we were both salespeople. I was going to be a salesperson. My dad was always sales. And so we took that $250,000 print shop, and turned it into a $3 million, creative agency and marketing agency. And, we printed for the first 5 years. And then my dad's like, I'm out. Like, I don't
Right.
know what you're doing and what's going on here with all these computers and stuff. So he retired, and he, kept the salary because he was the investor basically. And for 20 years, that agency stayed and ran, and it was great. So that's how I, long-winded way of how I got into it. And I was like, oh, and then I owned an agency, and I was like, well, I'm making money for Dawn doing all the marketing for your company. Why don't I start my own companies and do marketing for those companies? So that's how
Right.
I started starting other companies. I'm like, I might as well do the marketing. I know how to do it for my own company. So that's how I got into really starting companies and stuff. So,
That's amazing. So what was the next launch after that? Was that
so
HMAG?
I, No, so I mean, in Hoboken, my brother and I bought and sold a place. We gutted this place out, and all of a sudden the realtor's like, "You could get $370,000 for that place." Well, we only bought it for 200 like 2 years ago. So we like, all right, so we sold it, and I got a check on for 70,000 each. Each of us got seventy
Right.
thousand dollars like clear after taxes, whatever. And I was like a millionaire. I was
Right.
26, I think, 20, like
Right.
70,000 in one check for 70. So I bought the soup stores, a soup Nazi from Seinfeld, started a Soup Man franchise. So
Yes.
me and a
Right.
couple buddies were like, we bought the first two franchises. We're like, well, let's buy a franchise. I could do all the marketing, right? I could do all the websites. I have people that do all that. So we bought that franchise. We were the first franchisees. Unfortunately, it was a complete bust. Like the reason you buy a franchise is because they figured out the model and then they start selling it. You just follow this playbook. They didn't have the playbook now.
Oh,
We found out they basically pulled one over on us. They opened a corporate store the week before we opened our store. I'm like, wait, you guys haven't had a store open? It's like, and then it was supposed to be ice cream in the summer and soup in the winter, and all of a sudden we're selling $10 bowls of soup in 90-degree weather in the summer. And so anyway, it was unfortunate, but you learn from everything, right? So I learned from that, like that's why franchises work. If you ever read the E Myth, it's like that's because franchise, if you build a model and follow it, it'll work. So we got rid of those stores, and then I started HMAG. Yeah, so HMAG was our magazine in Hoboken. We had always thought about doing a magazine because we had done a couple for clients. We did Bergen County Magazine. We did this thing called the Green Magazine. It was for affluent minorities playing golf. It was really cool. We had Michael Jordan on the cover, Barack Obama. And then we're like, we should do our own magazine. So we launched HMAG, which is Hoboken Magazine. But the reason not a lot of people know this, I was telling my buddy about this, the reason we did HMAG, and I don't know, this is what it looked like, right? Sounds like show and tell, but we did this horizontal, really nice, glossy mat. We put like the spot gloss on there, high end paper, and we designed every single ad. I didn't care if you were small, the shoe shop in Hoboken ad. We designed ads because Hoboken at the time was full of young professionals,
right.
right? And a lot of our
Right.
clients from our marketing agency lived in Hoboken. So we're like, we could do a 64-page brochure that shows off all our creativity,
Right.
and it goes to all these people. So 15,000 copies to all these and it worked, right? People got our magazine on their doorstep, said, I work for Associated Press. We need help designing this presentation. Can you help us? We started getting business through HMAG for our agency, and it was its own business, right? We were doing, a few $100,000 a year in ad sales. It was a nice little profit center, and it drove a lot of business our way. So yeah, so there's always like, I always try and have a strategy behind this business, how it's going to grow that business, right? So,
Right.
and that's what we're talking about today. Like, try stuff, stick stuff against the wall, throw some spaghetti at the wall, see if it sticks. HMAG, we needed $12,000 to print the first issue.
Wow.
Right. So I went out and sold $12,000 worth of advertising with this little brochure that I printed for a couple $100 to just show people. And you have to go out and say, this is what our magazine is going to look like. This is what it's going to be about. And you get enough ad. And we sold $12,000 worth of advertising. We paid the printer up front because, it was the first time we're using them.
Right.
And we got that copy. And that launched it. And then we never put another dime in it. I really started HMAG with, I think, about $3,000, like just like I don't know, like, I needed some brochures done,
Right.
some printing done, like just little stuff, to just get going, the website and all that stuff. But yeah, we launched a whole company out of maybe 3 grand, if that was the case. Never put another dime into it. Yeah.
And that's amazing. And I have really great memories about HMAG. At the time when you and I met, it seemed there was a really big growing community of people who were starting their own businesses. So an HMAG, a local magazine that was going to highlight a local business and or
Yeah.
an event that we were putting together or something, to that capacity really did help to solidify that community and help grow that community and highlight all of the work that people were doing.
Right. And the good thing about HMAC, again, it wasn't our only business, so we didn't have to, like, sell out ads to give you a, "Hey, Joe, write about me. I'll buy an ad with you." Like, nope,
Right.
no way. We were very strict on what we did and who we put on and what we wrote about, and we just wanna highlight all the cool people like yourself in Hoboken that were doing, like, creative things and starting their own companies and trying to grow. It's like, "Cool, we'll write about you." So we really had all the focus on our editorial on what we wanted to write about. If we didn't wanna write about something, we weren't gonna write about it.
Right, right. Well, you clearly have a curiosity and you don't stay in one lane. So what drives you to explore new ideas instead of just driving down one lane?
Well, I think it's just exciting. It keeps you going, right? And again, for me, it's marketing. I know how to do so. So if I come up with an idea, I could do the marketing, and I know how to do sales. So like I've tried a couple things. So the beer company we did, Hoboken Ale, and we tried it, right? And we did it for a couple of years, and it was great. And we made some money on it. We were making a little bit of money, but it wasn't going to be enough, right? So tried it and we shut it down for 2 years, but we were out in all the bars in Hoboken and it was great and exciting. We had the tap handles from the clock tower in Hoboken. We tried it, but it got too oversaturated. Right,
Right,
there was everyone had a beer at that point. So, like, what are you really gonna do? So, I love trying things, see if they work. My new company, like, Connective, I started just on a whim. I had sold, the other companies and HMAG and stuff, and I was working on the beer company and the wedding thing, and people were always calling me for stuff. I was the guy to call. "You need something, call Joe." I started connecting people and taking a fee for making introductions. I'm like, "Hey, Dawn, you wanna meet so and so?" Yeah, I know them well. I could get you meeting with them, just like networking does.
yeah.
And, I'm like, "But pay me," And I feel like, "Yeah, I'll pay. Yeah, if you could get me a meeting with Morgan Stanley, whoever contact," people are willing to do that, right? And a lot of small businesses don't have salespeople. Like, it's hard to pay. If you're a small business, to pay 50, 60, 70 grand base salary for some salesperson that you hope is gonna actually bring business into
Right.
you. But here it's like, "Hey, I'll be a free salesman for you. I'll make an intro. If you get business, pay me." Yeah, sure. So that's what I did. And I tried it. I got like 12 people that I knew. My brother, I think you met my brother, like my buddy Seb, like people in Hoboken mainly, because that's where I was, that I knew that I'd work with. I trusted them to do a good job. I'm like, "Hey, how about I bring you guys business and you pay me?" And they're like, "Yeah, all right." And I made like $85,000 that year
Wow.
just making introductions to people, right? And some of them, this guy Alejandro I introduced to, my buddy Vito, and I heard from him. He did a couple small jobs. I didn't hear from him for like 3 months. I'm like, I guess it dried up. He sends me an email one night. He's like, "Hey Joe, I just got a check for $60,000 from Vito's company. Send me your invoice." And I was charging 15%. I sent him an invoice for almost $10,000, and I didn't even know he was doing the work. I made 10 grand, but not even knowing I was making
Right.
10 years the easiest time. So I'm like, you know what? There's something here. And then I got some more people in the room, and now we have 520 something businesses all over the country that connect each other. And Noladex, our software, we built it for ourselves to track all those deals. 500 something people sending deals to each other. Dawn sent one to Jen sent one to John sent one to him. So we built a software, and now from that we have two companies. Noladex's own LLC, where we're selling the software to chambers of commerce and other
Nice.
alumni associations and all these people that want to use the same premise we have. We say it's connectors get paid. Um, if you want to build a community, if you have a network and build a community, and everyone gets paid in it, take our software and run with it. Sometimes you just got to try something. You don't know if sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. So, but if you don't if you don't try it, you're never going to work. So
Yeah, absolutely. And we grew up with our parents always telling us that if you don't ask the question, the answer is always the same, no. So
right,
why not
yeah,
ask the question or why not I think you said this earlier, throw the pasta against the wall and see what sticks, or
Yeah,
maybe that
yeah.
was in another conversation I had,
No, we I
but
know I said that
yes,
before, yeah.
but yeah, yeah,
And I sent you that quote in the email that, we always use when they had the agency, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." Like, create your own future. Like, you wanna do something, you wanna grow, go ahead, do it, but you gotta create it, and you gotta figure it out and go for it.
right.
And I think a lot of people just don't go for it. I don't know what holds them back.
Well, fear is
Um
crippling, and
Yeah, it is,
that'll get
and
you.
look, it's okay to fail, like, I failed a bunch of times, like, it's perfectly fine to fail, right? But it's like, learn from that soup store. I learned, like, any business I started after that, I would not expand it until, like, got the model down,
Right,
right? Like, the connective was like, "Alright, we got this down, here's how we pay, here's okay, let's start another chapter." And now we have 17 chapters, right? But those chapters follow that model, and it's
right.
just that's the way to do it. Look, it's okay to try something and it fails, and I think people are afraid to fail, but it's okay to fail. Like, I have another friend that has a business now. I'm like, it's okay that it's not working, but don't put good money after bad money. I learned that too because after the soup stores, we had a smoothie shop in Hoboken, and we kept putting money into it, putting money into it. It's like you're just paying the rent another month. Like, just close it down. Like, it's not working. And we had a good idea with the smoothie shop, and it was working. We just lost a bunch of money on the soup, so we didn't have enough. So me and my friend, like, well, I'll pay the rent this month. I'll pay the rent,
Yeah,
and like at some point, it's okay to just be like, you know what, I'm not going to bleed out all the money I
right.
have to just keep this thing running. It's not going to work. Just shut it down and cut your losses and learn from it, and it's okay.
What do you think has helped you become someone who creates opportunities instead of waiting for them? Was there a defining moment, or was that
No,
always
I
in
think
you?
I was always the guy doing stuff, right? In college, I was always joining clubs and doing stuff and trying things, like, even in my fraternity, like, "Why don't we try this event? Why don't we do that event?" And I just enjoyed doing it, I guess, and then when you get that little taste of success in
Mhm.
something and people are like, "It's good, it's great," and then I think HMAG probably was a big factor in really, like, "Okay, we could create something." When I got that first copy, I remember in my hand, and I remember it because Kevin, my partner, was like, he brought him over. He went to his house. We got this first sample, and we actually did this. We actually made a magazine like I'm
Yeah,
holding, right? And I remember I was like, you know what? If we never print another issue of HMag, if it fails and the party doesn't go well and the launch doesn't go well, I don't care. Like, we actually did
you
this.
did it, right.
We did it. We actually created that magazine, and lasted for 6 years before we sold it. We did, I don't know, 70. I don't know how many issues we did, but it was awesome, right? But we did it, right? So always kind of getting out and trying something, see what works with it.
I know we've had many off-camera conversations, but you've also mentioned just now about taking a risk and failure. So, what have you learned about failure and risk and resilience?
Yeah, I think people are afraid to fail. What if it doesn't work? Like, that's okay. Like, again, I've had 7 businesses. I think 3 of them failed. Like, and I don't want to say failed. They just didn't,
It
just didn't
just
work for
didn't
different
work.
reasons.
Right,
Right, the beer was like, we were making some money off it. We coulda just ran that thing for years, and it would've made a couple bucks here and there, but, like, are you really gonna, like, for me, it was like, what's the one that's gonna sell for a lot of money, and right? But it's okay. So I learned to fail, but you learn from every one that you do, and, like, for me, like, when I had the agency, the one thing I learned was I was not good at finance, and I was good at selling. I was good at bringing money in, but I was also good at spending money, right? Partner now is like, "We can't spend money on that." I'm like, "Why not? It's 3 grand." Like, "We don't have that money to spend." I'm
right,
like, and for me, I would be like, "Ah, let's do it," right? I learned in that first business that I shouldn't touch the money.
right.
Like, I should have no access to the money. This business, like, first person I brought in was a CFO. Let's not spend any money. Like, here's our budget. If we don't have the budget to do things, we don't do it. In my first business, I was like, "Oh, we just got a check for 20 grand. Let's spend 10 on on a party or something," right?
Right,
Like,
right,
so you gotta learn, like, what you're good at, bring people in that are good at filling in the gaps. Like, I'm good at selling and marketing, but other stuff I'm not so good at. But bring somebody in that could be good at that, and
right.
find a partner or someone that could be like, "Hey, I'll take this road. I'll take this lane. I'll let me handle the finances," right?
It's just not your bag. It's not you.
Just they're not, and and it's funny because when I sold the other companies, I didn't have now a company card where I could, put stuff on it. So I said to my wife, this was years ago, I said, "I need a debit card." I need access to money. And I said, don't put more than $300 on it at any given time. Because it was 300, I could spend 300. If there's 1,000, I could spend 1,000. So she knows never to have more more than
That's
this in
funny.
that account that I could have access. Yeah. So it's pretty funny.
That's funny. Do you think that things would have been different if you didn't decide to work for your dad? Do you think you still would have gone
I
down
mean,
the entrepreneurial road?
I don't know. I would have been in a big corporate sales job. Like I would have just been the guy taking people golfing and flying across the country and just entertaining people because that's what I do. And I get along with people. I would have been that guy selling for Deloitte or some big company that send Mindak out there. Man, I wish I would have just made $500,000 a year selling and letting somebody else worry about it. Let me do all that. Because I see friends that are doing that. Right. And you're like, shoot, should I have gone down that path? I don't know. But I'm glad I did. I got to work with my dad. I got to work with my brother and my sisters wound up working there. It was a nice family business that we turned it into, and it was great. And I learned how to do all this other stuff. I've always enjoyed working. I've never worked for anybody. I've never had a boss. I've always enjoyed just creating stuff and doing stuff. And look, it's tough because sometimes 2008 when the economy took a
Uh,
tank. Well, I didn't take a salary for 2 years, right?
right.
Like, luckily, my wife has been great, and she's always had a corporate job, and she's put up with me and all the crap that I've tried and done and things, and been supportive. So I was lucky to have that, but not everyone could have done that. And yeah, so I'm glad that I went to work for my dad because I wouldn't have done any of the stuff that I've done. It's all been fun and great.
Yeah. You've talked about teaching your kids the value of trying new things and thinking creatively. So what do you hope that they learn from watching the way you approach work and opportunity?
Yeah, it's interesting because you never know if what you say to your kids is actually resonating or not, right? So I've always taught my kids about carpe diem, seize the day, when they were kids, I would always say, "Seize the day." Hey, Finn, did carpe diem work today? He goes, "Yeah, Dad, it did." Like, did and so I always want them to like wake up and do something for a day, and then they see I did a magazine, a beer, and this and that, and then I write. I feel like I'm doing show and tell, but like these are my 2 albums. I wrote 2 albums, and
Amazing.
I just wrote a book. It's it's like, but like. And I just wrote my son a letter. He's at college. I said, "Look, guys, I'm not bragging about this stuff because a lot of times my wife or my kids, my dad's talking about his stuff. I'm like, because it's exciting. I wrote an album. I don't care. Half the songs suck, but half of them are also okay. And the second album much better than the first album, right? But it's just things I love. And I say to my kids, just do it. I'm like, who cares? I don't care if anyone ever listens to this album. I wanted to make an album, and I did. And I
And you're
made
setting an
albums.
example. You're setting an
Right,
example for them. It's a very clear message that if you try something, in your case, the majority of them are going to work. And I think in the most case with people, if you try and you give it a good effort, sure, you go up and down. And sure, there are economic, impacts in 2020, which we're not going to get into. I know
right,
just
yeah,
devastated so many people, but you gave it a good effort and you put it out there and you tried it and you did it. So
yeah.
that's
And
that's a
it's
great example.
right, and so I said to my kids, "Whatever you guys wanna do it." And my interesting because my son's in college and he's an engineer, but he's taking business classes too. I was like, "Huh, maybe he does wanna do a business at some point," right? And I think my daughter is gonna be a little CEO and build an empire because she's already like she was doing when she was a kid. She was starting her own little business. She's selling slime. She's always trying these ideas, doing nails and doing stuff. And so I think hopefully it rubs off on them. And that's what I keep telling them. Like, guys, who care? I don't care if anyone listens to my album or listen to that. Like I just wrote a movie. Like I'm out trying to pitch the movie. And like I met with a guy the other day that's a director of some pretty big movies. He directed a movie with Robin Williams in it and some
That's
big names.
amazing.
And you just try, and it's all about connections, right? So
Right.
I have somebody out in Nashville trying to sell my songs to people. Like, I don't know if it's going to happen. I have no delusions of grandeur that like I'm going to be the next country songwriter or whatever. But this is something I do on the side. Like I come up with an idea for a song when I'm at the Y in the sauna, and I come in when I write it, and I put it onto Fiverr. I find somebody to sing it for me. But yeah, just trying everything. I've tried most things. Right now, I'm working on my first TV pilot. I got the first episode done, and I wrote a play years ago. So I'm kind of trying to do all the different
Good.
genres. Yeah, I mean, look, it took 3 years to write the play, and it's just back and forth. But like, I'll go to the library on like a Saturday and write like 2 scenes in the movie, and I'll go to the next Saturday when you have time. And it's just when you fill in the gaps, we're all busy with stuff, but you just find some time to do things. When I wrote the book, once I decide to do something, and again, I have that in me. Like once I decide I want to do it, I'm like,
You're
I'm going
going
to
to
do it.
do it.
Like
Right.
I could do it. So like I decided to write the book, and for in March, and I was like, when am I going to write it? And I get up at 5 every day. My wife and I would go to the gym, and I'm like, what if I get up at 4? I get up at 4. That gives me another hour. So I got up at 4 every day for in 2 weeks. I wrote the whole book. I mean, the basis of it, right?
Right.
And then I had my cousin help me with like, he's a screenwriter, copywriter. He helped me like, I was all over the place and helped me edit it and stuff. But the basics of it was done in 2 weeks. And then we just went back and forth a little bit over a couple months and then I put it out. But it's cool to do. And I like to try all different things, right? So now I was like, well, I haven't done TV. Let me write a TV pilot. I don't know if anyone's going to care or ever buy it or write, but you know
But
what?
they may. You never
They
know. You're
may,
putting it out there.
you never know, it's okay, and I have it, and it's done, it's kinda fun. The
Wow.
songs are great because the songs even now, there's a website called Suno. I've turned a couple of people onto it. You could write lyrics and then put it in here in 30 seconds. It's your entire song's done.
Seriously.
It's so cool. Yeah, I just did a song called "Packing Up Their Childhood" because 'cause we're selling our home, and I was packing all my son's, like, books and stuff from his bookshelf into a box, and I was like, so I wrote a song called "Came to Me, Packing Up Their Childhood." That's what we're doing. We're, like, putting everything from their childhood. They're in college now. And I wrote the song, and then I actually put it into, uh, AI and made a video. Now, it's not perfect, but it
Yeah.
gets the gist of it down,
Right.
but that's fun to do, but to be able to take that idea and just throw it into there and you have like and it gives you like a bunch of different options of it. So like if you ever want to write a song, and it's free. So now with the technology, you can really start to do some things and try some things out. It's kind of
That's
fun.
amazing. When you
Yeah.
when you think ahead after all of the decades of all of the different businesses, what still excites you about the next chapter of creating another opportunity, a new path, a new
Yeah, I
business?
mean, I already have the next idea in my head. I have a really crazy idea to compete with colleges, right? With all the education going on, people saying, should I go to college or not? So, like, for me, it's not like if I sold my company tomorrow, I wouldn't be like, oh, God, I could finally retire and sit by the pool and play golf every day. Like, I don't want to golf. I want to build something else.
Yeah.
So, like, retirement for me is to do another business and try it out, right? So, I already have like other stuff lined up. I'm like itching to get to I want to get those things going, but you got to stay focused on what you're doing now. Even my buddy, he's like, you got to focus on your business. It seems like I'm doing all this stuff and I'm spending all this time. I'm like, once in a while, I'm at the library for an hour or two on a Saturday where I write some stuff. That's my outlet.
Right.
I'm not on a golf course for 6 hours on a Saturday with my buddies. I don't do that. I go to the library for a couple hours and write stuff. That's what I like to do. So,
Right.
and wrote 2 albums in the last 5 years. So you got to stay focused on what you're doing now and not get veered off into something else because that's what happens. People get distracted and they're not focused. But I'm super focused on my business now, getting that going. But I want to get that other one going too. And you're tempted to be like, let me work on that. And it's like, nope, it's there. Now you come with ideation and come up with some ideas of what
Sure.
you're going to do at that point and stuff like that and kind of think through your head how it would maybe work. But right now, yeah, just focus on doing this, and then yeah, that's what I'm excited for. Is what else can I do down the road,
Oh,
right?
that's
So
amazing.
yeah. So it's fun. That's what I enjoy. Like everyone has their different things, right?
Great. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone if they were afraid to try something new?
Don't be afraid. What's the worst that's going to happen? Like, look, don't dump every penny you have and leverage yourself to the hilt where it's going to hurt you, right? Even when I like bring investors on for companies, if you're going to invest and it's going to harm you in any way, if you lose that money, I'm not taking your money.
Mhm.
Don't leverage yourself to the hilt to do something, right? And then be in a bad situation financially, but go out and try it. And you could do a lot of things with, especially with the technology now. I mean, you have an idea, you could build a website on these sites in a day,
Right.
right? You could tell them what to do. You can literally just websites now. Or you just tell it what to do. Like you can just speak, I want a website that's blue and red and
Right.
I want it to say this and it just builds it for you. So like there's things you could try, but it's called an MVP, right? What's your minimum viable product? Like what's the minimum you could do to get it to the market? right? Like with the connective, I was me. It was nothing. I didn't need anything. I designed a logo myself, and I went out and the concept was there. Hey, Dawn, if I bring you business, will you pay me? Sure, Joe. Yeah, if you're just going to bring me business, like so, I didn't start this business with anything. Right now, it's $1 million business. I think maybe my partner and I put in $2,500 each or something
Right.
like that. To be, you have to buy trademark and stuff, but you don't need a lot. And look, if you don't have the money, go and ask some friends. People think businesses are a fortune to start. They're not, but also ask people who have started businesses because like you'll go start a business. Oh, it's $2,500 to form an LLC. That's bullshit. The lawyer's going to charge you $2,500 to form an
Yeah, but
LLC.
you
When
could
you
do
could
it
do it
yourself for $75, right?
right. It is the simplest thing in the world to do online. Just go to New Jersey or whatever state
Right.
you're in
Yeah.
and fill out an LLC and you have it done in the next hour
Right.
for yes, for whatever it costs. Right. So but that's what people think. It costs a lot of money and stuff. So talk to somebody, find a mentor that's done it before. People like me that have done it. Like I wrote a book called How to F Up. I won't curse on your podcast, but it's called How to F Up Your Business Without Really Trying. And it's all about the things I did when I was young and stupid and didn't know any better.
Right.
Here's 10, 12 chapters, however it is, of things that I did that were really stupid, like buying $50,000 worth of office furniture to make my office look cool. Seriously, $50,000. The next office, my HMAG office, which you were in, I think, right? Like that was like $2,000 at IKEA. It can just and look just as good as the $50,000 I'd spent. You just do these stupid things because that chapter is called "Building the Taj Mahal." But yeah, and everyone gets it. We had guys in my office in Hoboken that I told them, I said, guys, I'm not getting, I don't want, I want to tell you what to do, but from my experience, I wasted a lot of money on office furniture and stuff I didn't need. And they were like looking right through me. Like, you guys are not listening to what I'm saying. And you're like, they hear me, but they're like, I ain't doing that, Joe. We're going to build. And sure enough, a couple weeks later, I saw a red couch in their lobby because it's in the same building. I'm like, that's the expensive couch I bought years ago. Right. And then the next year I saw them we invited them to our Christmas party. And they were like, "Hey," I'm like, "What's up, guys?" Like, "Yeah, how you doing?" I'm like, "Good. What's up?" They were looking at me like, "Yeah, you know what you told us last year?" I go, "Yeah, we should have listened to you."
Yeah.
Because
And
they
then
all of
they
a sudden
said,
lost
"Do you wanna buy a red couch?"
right there. But they lost a few clients, and now
Right.
they had this big fancy office, and they
Yeah.
wasted all that money. Wish they had that money back. So yeah, really learning from somebody that's already done it is good.
Well, Joe, before we go, I ask every guest the same question because I believe the stories we leave behind say so much about how we showed up in the world. So, what is one story, big or small, that you hope people remember you for?
So for me, I walked my son around Hoboken before I left, and I was talking about your legacy, like what you leave behind, and my legacy was all around town. You could see HMAGs in office places. You could see other businesses on windows of those offices and things like that. But I think the biggest thing for me was that my charity, which is Foundation for Sustainable Veteran Housing, where we build housing for homeless veterans. And in Hoboken, we tore the American Legion down and built a brand new American Legion Hall with 6 units of housing for homeless veterans. So 6 veterans have been living there for the last 5 years now. And now we've started a whole foundation. We have 8 locations across New Jersey building housing for homeless veterans. And we have, I think, about 200 something units being built for veterans that need a home. Taking all the stuff that I've done and knowing how to connect and knowing how to bring people together. And I brought all the right people together to do all this stuff, people that do the grant writing. And we built this partnership with all these people in New Jersey. And we're building housing all over the state, 8 locations, right? We're building 22 units out here in Westfield, Montclair, South Amboy, Cape May. My goal is to build this all across the country. And if a veteran needs a home, they should have a home. So when we figured out the formula to start doing this. So that's the biggest thing. And I learned from doing all these businesses, found charity is just the same thing as a business. It's
Yeah.
running a business, running a charity. And again, for me, it's always bringing in the right people in to do the right stuff. And we got great people. So yeah, that's the biggest thing I want people to remember
That's
me
am
by, I guess, is
that's
that.
amazing, Joe, and
Yeah. Yeah.
the add to all of that is that you're giving back to those people who are desperately in need of something, a place to live, to be seen, to be heard, to be, accounted for, to be cared for, and that really is amazing. Really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. I mean, these people served countries. Now they need our help and it's our
Right.
time to serve them. Like, what do you guys need? We're here to help you. I didn't get to serve. This is my way of serving those who served us. So it's pretty simple.
That's amazing, Joe. Thank you. Thank you for making the time to be here. Thank you for everything that you shared today, and thank you for being part of the story. And I want to thank everyone for tuning into this episode of Dawn of a Story. If something you heard today moved you, made you laugh, or made you think, share it with someone you love. Please like and subscribe to the show. And if you're feeling brave, I'd love to hear your story by commenting below. It helps other story lovers find us too. If you'd like to connect with Joe, he can be reached at joe@nolodex.com. And I will also put that in the show notes. Until next time, keep listening, keep sharing, and keep telling your story. Thank you, Joe, so much. This was
Yeah,
great.
no, this was fun. Yeah, a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.